I'm Dr. Patrick Jones, and this is Beyond the Feature. And as you can see, we're back in our studio again for this episode. In this episode, we're going to talk about AI, and it's mostly AI literacy, right? Because recently I saw something online where people were all upset and they were talking about, I refuse to use AI. AI is this, AI is that, it's ruining this, ruining that, which, hey, it's beliefs out there, right? But it reminded me of the progression and all of the other evolutions and revolutions that we've been through where people refuse to use things at first, right? Typewriters, things like that. There was a lot of backlash against things during the revolution. So I wanted to kind of address it. I'm not going to kind of go where AI is great, use it for everything, right? It's about literacy. It's about understanding the tool well enough to use it wisely, on purpose, with your eyes open. Then you can make that decision when it's appropriate and when it's not. I see this a lot in some of our audiences that's listening, students and people in the workforce specifically. Those two groups have the same underlying need that we're going to talk about today. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about like the history of that resistance, what AI literacy actually means, and then what responsible AI looks like. Because it's not optional anymore. It's here. This revolution is here. We need to kind of look at it. All right, so let's talk about the history, right? Socrates and Plato worried that writing would destroy memory and weaken the mind, right? That was like 2,400 years ago. People would know things without truly understanding them because they didn't have that oral tradition. They started to write things down. So that was a historical, concern at the time. Writing being the technology. Scribes feared the printing press. So they would write everything down, and now the printing press came out. And it's not just economical, but they argued it would flood the world with error-filled, low-quality text because anyone could publish now. Heard this argument recently? And that was 1474. And then, hey, calculators in math class. Kids will never learn how to do math or do math in their heads. Okay, those are the same people that told us we won't have a calculator everywhere we go, right? Spell check, word processing. No one will learn how to spell because it'll just do it for us, all right? Google and search engines. No one will memorize anything anymore. And then, hey, there's the whole pencil, typewriter, word processor, computer, internet, smartphone, now AI. It's that same emotional pattern every time. So the fear is rarely this tool is bad. It's usually this will erode some skill or virtue that we associate with the old way. Sometimes that fear has a little bit of truth to it, which is why it sticks around. But refusing the tool has never been a winning long-term strategy, ever. Because the revolution rolls, right? So here's the point, though. The people who refused the printing press didn't stop the printing press. They just lost the chance to shape how it got used. So sticking your head in the sand isn't a way to stop it. But by embracing it and being part of the change, you can adjust or tailor it to how it should be used. Now, AI doesn't just assist in a task. It generates the output itself. And that's a real legitimate difference from previous tools. The printing press didn't create words, humans did. In AI, a little bit differently. And that's why literacy, not blind adoption or refusal, is the right way to do it. You don't need to pretend like AI is just like a pencil, but you can't reject or refuse it entirely. So this is the moment where we need to really think. The goal isn't enthusiasm for AI, it's competence and judgment. And that comes with education. So let's go back to education, right? Students. Student AI use has exploded. That global student use went from 66% in 24 to 92% in 25. Now, partly because there wasn't as much AI back in 24. I'm going to tell you that. But it's also 92% in 25. That's not really, that's behavior. That's not a trend. And then the training is real and uneven, right? 80% of high school educators say their students get AI literacy lessons, but only 8% of students in pre-K through 3 get the same. So again, they're not using as much AI at the lower grades, but we need to start planting the seeds down there. And part of that is only 25% of educators worldwide feel trained to use AI in their own curriculum. So if they're not feeling like AI is something they are comfortable using, it's going to be hard for them to either help the students use them the correct way. So a lot of time we see, hey, we're banning it and we're going to make it against the rules, right? No. So 95% of college faculty fear student over-reliance on AI and diminish that critical thinking. The same way my teacher said, can't use your calculator. The same concept. So it's legitimate to worry that the I refuse sentiment, it's not the right path we need to go. And then cheating normalization, right? 59% of teens think using AI to cheat is just normal part of student life. But here's the thing, is it cheating? We had the same questions. If I can find the answer using AI or using the internet 10 years ago, right? Do we not need to change how the question is, right? That's the trick. I know Chris Dede over at Harvard, he's one of the professors over there. He kind of said, if you educate people for what AI does well, you're preparing them to lose to AI. So instead, educate them for what AI can't do, and you've got intelligence augmentation instead. Again, ask different questions that requires the person, because that's the difference. AI is phenomenal, but the human in the room is what makes the difference. AI literacy for students shouldn't be just let them use it for everything or ban it entirely. It's teaching them when it helps thinking and when it replaces thinking. That's a teachable moment. And that's not an instinct that kids or people in the workforce arrive with, right? We have to shape that. Now, AI fluency is becoming a hard hiring requirement too, not just a nice to have. 66% of leaders say AI fluency is a non-negotiable for hiring. 78% of leaders are actively hiring for AI-specific roles right now. But there's a readiness gap on the employee side. Only 17% of employees who use AI frequently, they even use it today. And even though 42% expect their role to change significantly because AI within the next year, they need to try to learn to adapt too. 34%, and I'm throwing all these statistics, you can see me reading them so I don't get them wrong, feel unprepared for AI-driven change. And 42% say their employer just expects them to figure it out on their own with no formal training. We've seen that before. That's not a recipe for success. Only 1 in 4 workers has actually received any formal training on how to apply AI at work. I'm doing trainings on that with several people right now. I got a couple courses online about that even, because that's a hot. Responsible AI is a factor. And I did a training the other day talking about AI, and safe ways to use it. So the pressure is real and it's rising. 79% of workers feel they need to learn new skills right now so that they can stay competitive in this workplace. And AI is specifically the reason for that pressure, right? It's the same story as the student gap, workers and students, right? The expectation is shifted faster than the instruction. People are being asked to be fluent in something that just came out not long ago and is streamlined now, but that nobody properly taught them. So Small business owners, nonprofit leaders, school administrators, if you're not building AI literacy into your onboarding or your ongoing training, you're leaving your team to figure it out on their own. Working with a university right now, and part of our being on their board is talking about incorporating AI into their MBA programs, things like that. And that's where you talk about it. You embed it within the growth. It's not on its own, it's embedded in there, and how to use it appropriately. And that's all part of responsible AI. And that's knowing what the tool is good at and bad at. AI is great at drafting, summarizing, brainstorming, finding patterns. It's generative, right? It's not a source of truth, and it can be wrong. And not just wrong, confidently wrong, right? Where it comes back and it says, that's a great idea. Here's the answer. And people can believe it. No, verify before you trust it, especially when there's names, numbers, quotes, citations, anything that can be hallucinated. And hallucinated is when it fills in the gaps. Again, AI is generative. So it's anticipating that next. It's anticipating what you want to hear. It's anticipating. So it can hallucinate and get it wrong. So those items need to be double checked. That's the human in the room, right? You can use it to extend your thinking, but not replace your thinking. So you can test it, right? Did this information make me sharper, or did it just hand me an answer that I didn't earn or understand? Now, part of that is transparency. In school, disclose when and how you used it in a way that your teacher and institution understands, right? And at work, be honest with your team about what's AI assisted, especially for anything that goes to a client or the public, right? That's the human in the room. It's phenomenal. It's speeding up the process, but you definitely have to check it and make sure it's what you're looking for and it's not wrong. Then you have privacy and data awareness. What are you pasting into these tools? That was my conversation a while back. Because if you're putting client data or student records or anything sensitive, you need to be careful because there's data governance that goes along with that. And where is that information being stored? Are you using an enterprise level AI, or is it the personal or public level AI? Because can that information go into the world? Is the system training on it? Those are all things you need to know. When you pay for that license, you do get enterprise protections on it, but should you still put that critical data in there, the health information in there? No, right? That's something, let it help you with it, but that's where you interpret those things. And then you've got, for students specifically, is the skill you're protecting is your own judgment. Don't let AI quietly take over your thinking before you've built that muscle to do that thinking yourself. Don't go by what AI tells you, right? Understand what you need to know about that, and you can make your own judgments. And for employees, the skill you're protecting is your value. You're getting people, the people aren't getting replaced by AI. The ones that use AI well are not getting replaced. And the ones who can bring value, especially value using AI, that's what AI can't do, is the human part of it. And part of that, I love a metaphor with all these people fighting against AI. You could either fight against the waves when you're in the ocean, or you can learn how to surf, right? You don't fight a wave that's already arrived. You learn to read it, position yourself, and then ride that wave on purpose. But refusing AI outright, that doesn't protect your thinking or your skills. It just means someone else is going to shape how that tool gets used while you sit there on the shore. So literacy is that surfboard. It's not the wave's fault if you've never learned how to stand on it. And that's the point, is responsible AI is understanding how to surf, how to use that tool for your own benefit and for others. Not just sticking your head in the sand or just outright banning it like some teachers do. Banning it is the wrong way. Adopting it intentionally is how you use it. Now, here's one action that educators, parents ask: what AI literacy instruction is happening in your school or workforce right now? It's a fair, normal question to ask. How are people being trained? And for leaders and managers, don't assume figure it out is a training plan, because it's not. Build a real session a quarter. Keep people involved in that and understand what's coming, because it's coming. And just not being aware of it or saying you can't use it is not the right answer. And then one action for people, right? Pick a task this week where you will deliberately practice verifying that AI output. So ask something to AI, read it, and think about it. Is this correct, right? That's the human part. Is this correct? Is it how it wants? Am I trusting this on faith, or am I verifying it? Now, I've got more on this, beyondthefeature.com, drpjj21.com. That's where I have some of my other stuff. I've got books on this. And I do have training courses at Olympus Academy as well. Responsible AI course. I've already provided that out there. I've got some others that I've done and coming. And it's important that you keep that going. So at least there's, whether it's me or somewhere else, embrace it to the point where you understand it. And that's what responsible AI is, right? It's not stealing the information, it's getting it out there. And then, hey, subscribe, all that stuff, but also comment on these things. I love commenting with people on some of my other YouTube chats and stuff. So if you have questions, man, hit me up. I love it. Let's make it a community. So besides that, this is Beyond the Feature. This is about AI literacy, and there's so much more of this coming. We're just at the beginning. All right. Thanks. Talk to you next time.